And welcome to the Diablo podcast, your home for Diablo diehards, tryhards, casual and hardcore alike. I am your host, Xanth, and I am joined today by the one and only Words.
Hello.
And today we're not talking D with the boys. We are talking about season 5 of Diablo, talking about Infernal Hordes, talking about our softcore experiences in Diablo this time, because we're on even footing. This is
We
the
are.
first and
Yeah.
only podcast in which we are completely even, and I know all the information, and it feels wrong. But we will get to that. We will get to that. So let's start it out with recent play. So it's been just about a week since season 5 launched. How has your season been going? What have you accomplished so far?
It's been going awesome. Definitely having a ton of fun, which we'll get into the nitty gritty of that, I'm sure. But yeah, I mean, I've done pretty much everything there is to do in this season for one character at least. I've completed the seasonal journey. I've done plenty of the Paragon caches from the seasonal board and stuff. I got my Lilith kill with two different builds, which is awesome. Um, yeah, and I've gotten the mythic. I mean, like I've been grinding a lot of bosses, so I've got all the mythics that I need for my build and all that stuff, which is great, and some extra for sure. And I actually completed my sorceress grail list. I know it's not like a D2 grail, but I have now found every item in the game that exists for a sorcerer at least. I think the only item I haven't found as of now is actually the grandfather. That's it. I think I found every other item. Um, Unless, well, there's new uniques for some of the classes, so I'd have to run those through to get those. But yeah, so yeah, really excited about that for sure.
That is great. I'm still, I guess, I joked before about being on even footing. I'm not there. However, I hit 100 just the other day. I've done every tormented boss. I'm on phase 2 of Lilith, so I'm still working through her. I've got the
Just run in
season,
circles now. All you got
right.
to do is run in circles now. Just run in circles.
I need to tweak the build a little, but I was able to get my season journey done. It's wild what softcore, what would normally take me a full 5, 6 weeks, I've now done in under a week. And there's still a few more things I want to do. I think going softcore this season, it has been a good choice with the truncated schedule. We're going on vacation next week, so that's even less time. So having played through, I will say I only died from the 1 to 100 like 3 times, and that was just me being cocky because leveling is so easy.
Yeah,
It's so easy to justify like I'm going to fight something 30 levels higher than me, and then it being softcore, like if I die it doesn't matter. But even then there were very few times where I felt truly in danger from that 1 to 100 process. It was just
yeah.
like being a little overzealous.
Are you playing
I
Druid this time around too?
still Druid.
Yeah.
Can't break that, though. I will say, and we'll talk about it in a little bit, I'm very tempted to go into a Sorc because it looks really fun.
It's
And
amazing.
I mean, we'll get there. One of the things I want to point out, and I don't know if you found that there are a lot of changes this patch. The one that I've loved the most is being able to use a potion when I am CC'd. And I know
Yeah,
death doesn't
I
matter.
play a sorcerer. I have this wonderful spell called teleport that allows me when I get CC'd to just not be anymore.
It's
Um,
yeah, yeah. You've got some other advantages.
yeah, definitely for sure.
It made me want to play my hardcore character more. Having gotten to
Sure.
experience that, where I've had those situations where I'm like, oh, I'm still playing softcore, but I don't want to die. I hitting my potion like, oh, I that was a situation I wouldn't have lived through,
Yeah.
and especially in the hordes, as I'm wiping out wave after wave, having those moments crop up, it's just like, oh yeah, this feels good. I really really enjoy this. Um, yeah, so my goal for the week before we go off to the Grand Tetons is I want to kill Lilith. So I think
Okay.
that's the goal.
What build are you running on the Druid?
It is a landslide build.
Okay,
I
cool.
started with Companion, and I played Companion basically to 100, and I like it, but it feels like a half measure. It feels like there's something missing to make it all come together. And I think it really deals with the fact that like all of your companion skills are confined to one part of the skill tree, and you build it out of the items that are available to you, but it's not super reactive, I guess.
Right.
Um, the wolves are really your only main usable companion, and you augment them with the pants, and you aug them with turning them into werewolves and what have you. But all I can do with them is hope one that they're fighting, and then I can get my cooldown to about 2 seconds, and I can spam it so that it will go and hit something, and then I wait except for when that cooldown doesn't really work or they're off stuck in a
Yeah.
corner. And I had several times doing hordes where I would spam it like 3 or 4 times before they would end up doing anything, and
Mm.
it didn't feel good. It was really cool
Mm.
when I could like bring a boss down to nothing in like 10, half a second essentially. But that wasn't I was mainly wanting to play it. I didn't get too many one-on-ones. So I was really kind of sad to see the companion just didn't click. I think it needs some more work. And we're, 2 months away from an expansion. So ideally the druid gets another oh, but it's still a more playable companion druid than done.
Yeah. No, I mean Druid. I would probably be playing Lightning if I played Druid, just because Sorcerer. I love casters in games, and that build has always looked really cool. And I did play a Druid in season two, when Dolmen Stone came out. I think that was season two. Just because I thought that was such a cool idea to like boulder and then hurricane that motherfucker and throw it at people. I really enjoyed the build at that point. It was really fun. Um, but I don't have any experience with landslide. But yeah, I mean, that lightning build looks crazy cool. It always has, but like I know it got some pretty good buffs this season too. So if I rolled a druid, which I probably won't this season, but if I rolled a druid, I'd probably go the lightning build. But landslide is definitely doing some damn for sure.
Yeah, I took friend of the podcast Nico Rex's Cataclysm landslide build, and with the new ring where you can have when you pop your Cataclysm, it gives you unlimited resources. Then you're just spamming your landslide. Um, yeah, it's pretty fun. It definitely for Infernal Hordes is way more effective than what I have been doing with the companions. And I'm looking at tweaking it and obviously getting my gear a little bit better before I'm able to take down Lilith. But it's a build I haven't played. It-
Yeah.
in all of at this point the game's been out over a year. A landslide was never on my radar. It's nice to try something new. Like I said, disappointed about companions, but enjoying this one. Now, on the other side, I was in Helltide earlier today, and there were a bunch of Sorks there doing some cool shit.
Oh
Like,
yeah. It's a lot of great builds right now, but there's one that's standing out among the rest for sure.
so you know, uh, as we're looking at season five, and we're looking at the shifting power dynamics. One of the things we talked about in the last podcast was expectations of where things were going to fall. Barbarians are barbarians are to the shock of no one still doing just fine.
Yeah. They're very good. I've got a couple of buddies that are playing Barb.
However, what I'm not seeing as much is a complete carbonation.
Mm.
It is Sorks. It's Sorks rising up and doing a bunch of cool shit. So tell me about the Sork and like when I go to play one, which I fully expect to, what should I be playing?
Well, I honestly like. I mean, I'll get to the build, right? Because there's a build that is the build right now, and it's super fun, and I'm definitely in that build now. But the thing that I think that's really cool about Sork is that you can pretty much play what you want to play, as long as you kind of know how to impact the skill tree as you go and what is useful versus what's not, right? Like Frozen Orb is a great build and good for leveling, right? Chain Lightning is a great go-to for leveling builds. You could go Arc Lash and Firebolt both work. Fireball is actually what I leveled with about halfway through my leveling process. Blizzard is still a great build. Hydra is on the come up a little bit, and while Meteor isn't amazing, I played Meteor a couple seasons ago, and it was really good. And it just got better with the buffs and the changes that made too. So there's a lot of options with Sork, and I feel like that gets kind of like thrown by the wayside because there's the best or fastest build. But if you're not pushing the top tier content or trying to push the edges of what characters can do in the game, anything works for a Sork, and I think that's why it's awesome because you can find viability and creativity in the leveling process that I just don't think. I'm not saying no other classes have it. I'm just so much more I know more about the Sork, so I know that okay, I can swap these skills here or there. Or I get a legendary aspect that I want to try out that I haven't tried before, so I'll switch some points around and go. But leveling, I mean, you definitely want to go with a chain lightning is kind of the go-to leveling build because it's just really good, especially with axial conduit, that the new pants. Um, while those don't end up being super great end game because they're kind of still a little wonky, it's a beautiful looking set of pants from a transmog standpoint, but then also what it actually does in the game too, with the lightning kind of circling around you and stuff. Actually, my girlfriend is currently playing that build, which is awesome. But Lightning Spear is the build right now. That is the build with the buffs they did to conjurations, and Lightning Spear in general, let alone the lucky hit chance increases and things like that too, and then just some general power creep from the season as well. And it's so good. Lightning Spear is ridiculous. You throw a lot of frozen orbs, but you have 1 point in a frozen orb. You're not doing it for damage. The frozen orb is there to just proc your fractured winter glass. And I mentioned it last podcast, but they basically had changed the fractured winter glass. It was already very good. They buffed it like crazy. I played frozen orb last season, and it was really fun and it was really good. This season, even not playing a frozen orb build, it's just insane because every time your frozen orb explodes, it reduces the cooldown of your conjurations. And so essentially, if you take the frozen orbit legendary passive, which has your frozen orb, when you cast it, it stops wherever it explodes and pumps 2 more times. Well, every time it explodes, which is 3 times, if you have that thing, it takes 0.1, 0.2, or 0.3 seconds off of the cooldowns of your conjurations. Now that's base level. If you crit that stat and or masterwork that stat, it gets insane to where you're basically able to spam Lightning Spear, and every Lightning Spear that you have out buffs your Conjuration Mastery, which is a huge buff across the board to your damage reduction, your overall percentile damage, and then also your movement speed. So you're moving crazy fast, doing crazy damage, and have great damage reduction. It is really fun to play. So you're running around, you're throwing orbs to reset your cooldown on your Lightning Spear and just smacking your Lightning Spear every time it pops up, and it's just zipping around the screen. You've got between 15 and 30 freaking Lightning Spears just killing everything for you. It's very powerful. It is very strong, and it is very, very, very fun. And I didn't call that it was going to be. I knew Fractured Winterglass was going to be juiced. I think I mentioned it right at the end of the last podcast. It's even better than I thought, and it's really, really good. I hope they don't nerf it. I expect some tweaks to it, but honestly, I think it's in a good place. I would like to see other things kind of come up a little bit, and maybe if it goes down maybe a little bit. It is kind of a little ridiculous on the boss damage, but I will tell you that this is the first time that we've had that. We normally really suffer in a boss damage, or from a boss damage standpoint, Sorks do. This has fixed that in some regards, but it's still, all the other builds still struggle with bossing. So it's not like it's fixed for every build. This one build is good at bossing, and that's only if you have really great cooldown, really great gear, especially if you're rocking a Shaco, you got a Tyrael's Might, you're going to be in really good shape for it. But I'll tell you, I'm level 100. I have done a ton of I've probably dropped over 1 billion in masterworking. And I still have a completely garbage Fractured Winterglass. It's not good. I need a better one really bad, and Zir has been very stingy. So I'm still farming for that, and just farming for. I've gotten everything masterworked at this point. I'm trying to just crit on the right things all the way up, and that is getting expensive, but I'm at that point where that's kind of what my progression is. So, yeah, it's been awesome. But I will tell you right now, Infernal Hordes coming in this season with the Lightning Spear build has been the perfect storm of Stork will conquer, because that build is great for Infernal Hordes. Small space, so your Lightning Spears just hit everything, and it's great.
We'll come back to hordes in a bit. Um, I am super jealous of the Sork build. It sounds exciting. I also will say I'm in the exact same boat when it comes to gearing. I have a sacred landslide ring currently. I've found the ancestral version, and it is worse. It is worse than the sacred version, which doesn't seem right
Sure.
at all. Because I got, the sacred version at level 55
Hmm.
and the ancestral from a tormented Grigor should be better, and it's not. So I'm farming that. I want because I want to masterwork it. I want to get it up a little bit, but I can't yet. I can't.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. It'll happen. But I've been in a similar boat to you in that regard.
Well, and I was gonna say too, because I kind of got like off track from it too. But like, I really recommend if you've seen the Sork build, like you or anyone listening out there, and you're interested in playing it, it's fun, it's great, it's awesome. But honestly, I played most of this season so far as Fireball, and
I
that
will
has been
for Leviathan. I
amazing.
mean, it is the 12th. So most of this season, not a week.
I mean, I respect to Lightning Spear yesterday. I was Fireball up until yesterday, and I only switched because I have a buddy that I also play with who's playing a Sork as well too. We usually dual wield Sorks. It's usually me and him on a Sork, and then another friend on a Necro, and another friend on a Barb. That's like our group every single season, just about. Um, but he's kind of already tapped out. Like he kind of reached that point where like the 1% upgrades aren't interesting for him, so he's stopped. And he was running Lightning Spear. So when he dropped from the group, I went, well, I was running Fireball to just have kind of something different happening. And it is, again, Fireball, especially if you have Gloves of the Illuminator and the Staff of Endless Rage. If you have the two uniques for Fireball, it is. Those items are not a meme anymore. They're actually very good. They were a meme for the whole game up till this point, pretty much. But it's very fun. Fireball. And then, look, if you just want to shoot fireballs at things, that's all you do. Fireball, and then just run around as a Sork. It's if that's the vibe you want from a Sork, it is completely viable. I think I did a tier 115 pit, and I could have pushed probably a little higher with fishing and really min maxing some gear because that wasn't fully masterworked. Um, but I decided to switch to Lightning Spear because I was like, this is fun, it looks fun, and my buddy stopped playing, so I'm gonna switch to that.
Nice. You also mentioned a pre-show. You've got a rogue as
Yeah,
well.
I do.
Uh, Now, things to note: rogues have broken the game 2 times since release.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, and broken
has
my
that
brain too because that totem is confusing.
so? Run us through Umbercrux and the issues therein.
I honestly don't know them fully, even though I do have another buddy who's playing Rogue and maining it the whole time. I haven't gotten the full skinny on it. I know that it was bugged and doing way more damage than it was supposed to. Basically, it's a new unique that drops a totem, and you hit the totem, and it just like whatever you hit it with on the totem, exponentially like shoots out AOE damage from that totem for whatever you do. So what people can do, and what people still can do even after the fix, is like drop the totem like right where Duriel spawns and just have all the barbs just bash the shit out of it, and then Duriel spawns and he blows up in one shot, right? So it's one shotting bosses. But I mean, I think that's kind of a cool like mechanic. It's interesting. What's bugged me about it was that like it shows up as an enemy, right? So if you're doing Infernal Hordes and they drop one of those things, I'm like trying to kill it. Like, why isn't this dying? Oh, it's a damn totem, and you move on. But catching that in the frenetic pace of everything that is Diablo 4 could be a bit challenging for sure. But now here I am playing a Barrage Rogue that's also going to be using the Umbercrux as well too. So I guess I'm a part of the problem. But Barrage just looked really fun this season. So I'm gonna try that out on my Rogue now. So
I think the only class that we have not talked about here is Rogue, Druid. We touched on Barb is Necromancer, and
yeah,
this is where we got to call out. Nine Ball is not here tonight. One, life is hitting him hard, not in a bad way, right? Yeah, he's a victim of his own success. He's too good at 2 jobs and COVID. The boy
yeah.
goes and gets himself COVID. So obviously get better. I say that. You're not even listening. Nine Ball doesn't listen to the show. Why am I even addressing him? But for Nine Ball fans, he's not here tonight. He's got the COVID. And get better, bud. So, Necro, I don't know.
Well, I can tell you that Bone Spirit is very good. I had a buddy who tried it out. He just didn't like the build, but he said it felt a little clunky to him. But it is very powerful. It can definitely, it's definitely one of the more powerful single target boss killing builds in the game for sure, and it does great AOE. Most builds do. My buddy switched to summoning Necro just because he enjoys that more. And while it wasn't as powerful or as good, he was kind of running around the hordes with us while my lightning spears did what they did and the barbs did what they did. And he basically plays a World of Warcraft Death Knight as a necromancer in Diablo 4. Lots of minions, big tanky, doesn't ever die. Kind of reses people as they get smacked and stuff like that. But he has fun with it for sure. But even he now has a barb leveled to 100 and has a sork that I was just helping power level that's I think level 84 or 85 now too. So um, Necros are not nearly where Sorks are. I don't think anyone really is necessarily, but they're still in a decent spot from what I've seen. Yeah, Bone Spirit is doing some damage for sure.
Good for them. Um, I it's a truncated season. I only got so much time. I think if I get Sork and Rogue in there, I'm going to be happy. But we will see because eventually what's going to happen, unfortunately, is Gamescom's going to happen in a few weeks. We're going to get way more details about Vessel of Hatred, and we're going to get hype about that. And then it's going to be like a week or two out, and we know we're going to have our new toy of a Spiritborn.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. It's going to be real hard to kind of keep pushing. And we know, well, we don't know. I would imagine there's no mid-season surprise, mid-season bump
Well, we know we're
of
getting two more tiers of the Infernal Hordes, I believe, right? Like they're doing tier 9 and tier 10 on Infernal Hordes. And there will be a mid-season patch. I just don't know how big or beefy it'll be, but
right.
there is some changes coming.
And we're not going to get anything brand new per se,
Right.
right?
Right.
There's no
We don't
abattoir of
think.
Zir coming in. It would be weird if
Right.
it did.
It would
Um,
be weird. Yes. You'd think they'd
it'd
save
be
it for the expansion. Yeah.
right. Um, and I think the expansion is there's going to be some things. So why toss something brand new if you maybe are going to be changing a few things along the way? Um,
Hmm.
a nice little segue. You talked a little bit about how fancy the axial conduit pants are. Let's talk. Let's talk the shop. Uh, how much money have you spent on those new fancy WoW cosmetics?
Oh
Oh,
man, you would
oh,
call
you
me out on
did.
this.
You did,
I
didn't
did.
you?
I did. Look, okay, I haven't got any cosmetics in the game. None that were paid for, right? I haven't done anything yet. I've wanted to pull the trigger a couple different times, for sure. But it just was like, the price is too much. I don't know. And then they dropped a Kael'thas skin for the Sorcerer with Felamalorn. And look, I am a Diablo nerd. That is my home. It is where I live. Sanctuary is where I exist. But I'm also a WoW nerd too, just not to the same extent. And Kael'thas, and specifically the Felamalorn, are just very cool, and they look so good in the game. My only beef is that my hair kind of like I play a female Sork because they just look better than the male Sorks. I think they look strange. But the hair, like if you do longer hair, it kind of clips through the back of it, so that's kind of disappointing. But just short hair, or I like to do a shaved head female Sork because I just think it looks badass. With the hand of Saruman on my face, I love that too. But yeah, I definitely spent 25 bones on now, mind you, I had like 1,000, over 1,000, I think, platinum saved up from previous seasons, so I used that to buy the battle pass. I will say that the quality of the cosmetics in the battle pass this season are much better than they've ever been. They look really great. But I definitely spent 25 on Kael'thas. And while I love Kael'thas and I love Fellow Malorn, and it looks awesome and I'm very happy about it, I literally rolled a rogue so I could get the Sylvanas skin because Sylvanas is my girlfriend. So I'm definitely going to buy that too. Like they finally got me, and I hate that they got me with WoW cosmetics, but they did get me, and I'm not ashamed. I'm just disappointed.
I'm not surprised. I've been tempted myself. I would like the Kalthas is nice. I do like that one. I don't play enough Sork to justify it. Uh, I've killed more rogues than any other class except for Druid, so Sylvanas is very tempting. But I
The
main a
Xavier
Druid.
skin, the Xavier skin for Druid looks fucking cool, dude.
It looks.
I mean,
I don't
maybe not your vibe for Druid, but
know.
knowing the lore of WoW and knowing Xavier's story it's very cool that that skin is in the game. I will say I'm a little shocked though at the Barbarian skin. Like the Barbarian skin doesn't make any sense to me. It
Right.
looks good because it's and or not Anduin, sorry, it's oh my
Varian.
god, Varian. Yes, yeah, it's Varian skin, but like
Look at
Varian
this guy
at one
with his
point,
WoW knowledge.
I know, right? I didn't even know you had that. But
Mhm.
Varian like spent a large portion of his life as a slave in orc camps fighting as the warrior Logosh,
Mhm.
which looks like a barbarian. Like this skin should have been a Logosh skin, not a Varian skin, in my opinion, and would have fit the vibe better. It still looks great. It looks good, but man, a Logosh skin might have got me a little bit. The Varian one doesn't right now. Um, what was the Necromancer one? The Necromancer one was really cool too, but I can't remember what it was off the top of my head right now.
It is the newest boss.
Xalatath! Oh, it's
Yeah.
Xalatath! No, that's actually really cool. Never mind. Yeah, they're all good. They're all very good. If you're a
I
cosmetic
think,
person, then sweet. If you're not, then it is what it is. But they look good.
yeah, this is the part of the show where we're geeking out about spending more money on
Yeah,
these, which is fine. You know, I don't have any problem paying money for things that I like. I don't love the Druid set. I like the look of it.
sure,
It's just not for me. When I saw
sure, yeah, yeah.
WoW, like WoW Druid, I was thinking, I don't know, something like Malfurion Storm Rage or
I
something.
I'm glad it wasn't Malfurion because I hate Malfurion. He's like my least favorite
Right,
character in WoW lore. But I get that though, right? Because it is not a true like Druid skin. It's this like dark shadow Druid skin. But I think that kind
right.
of makes it cooler to me. I don't know. It looks
Yeah,
really neat. But I get it. It's not for everybody for sure.
yeah. I mean, it's okay. I don't have to buy anything. I do have a bunch of platinum just sitting there. We're gonna see what happens. My goal is to make it to vacation without buying one, and then they'll be gone by the time I get back, and then
Yeah,
I'll be okay. I'll be safe um, until it comes back. Eventually, they all rotate back. Though I will point out, so we talked about this briefly, and I promise if you're listening, we will stop talking about the shop soon. We're getting to the other stuff. We talked about it last time. They did say they were going to start serving you cosmetics targeted towards you as well as on sale. I get the targeted part currently. I've only been targeted with a sale once. And as first said, I wasn't that interested in. I would love the ability to mark a set and say, notify me when on sale. Like message me in game, you have my email. Path of Exile does this super well. You have the ability in the shop, mark anything, and say like, "Oh yeah, I'm interested in this." I still will get emails like items on your watch list are on sale. One that's going to get people to come back and take a look, and if they really are a good deal, maybe it's enough for somebody to buy platinum or to use the platinum that's sitting there, and then they come back and they're playing more. I totally agree. Sometimes 25, 28, or whatever it is for an armor set is a little ridiculous. But when you see it's on
it
sale
really
for
is.
14, you're like, okay, I can justify that. I just think that's a good idea. Plus, it's also the one druid set I really like is the I think it's like Hoarfrost, the bear
Yes,
antlers.
I've seen that one. Yeah, it's pretty
It's
cool.
so cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
Rod Ferguson was rocking that on his druid. I was just like, God, man, it's. I would imagine when you're the GM, you're just like, I'll take all of them,
Yeah.
and
Right. Right.
I'll be fine. I like that one, but it's almost never in the shop, and then it's always at full price. The day I see that on sale, I will buy it. Like that's not an issue. I just I can't justify 28.
Yeah, all the cosmetics that I have been targeted with for like that have been on sale are all the worst ones, like the ones from like very early that were like there was like forest sorcerer, so it's like a sorcerer with like like furs, and I'm like that's not a sorcerer for me. I don't know. I have a very specific like vision, I guess, cosmetically for sorcerers, and that they've never really hit that, and when they have, it's been cool but not cool enough. Kael'thas, I literally saw it and I was like. Ooh, I kind of have to buy that. But I will say that I have
You're
justified
just
it.
like, just take it.
Yeah,
Just take it.
just throw money. Um, I have justified it in my own head, right or wrong, by I'm only buying the base expansion and the extra I would have spent on the extra stuff that I don't care about. I'm just gonna buy Kael'thas as my extra. Because I'm gonna get the little kitty cat no matter what. So I get the kitty cat that I want, the little kitty cat pet, because I'm a cat person, not a dog person. Dogs are great. I just prefer cats. Um, so I want a little kitty cat. I don't care about the cat mount because I've got way too many badass mounts in this game to just throw them all away for a pre-order mount on a on a cat, even though it is cool. Um, but yeah, so that's kind of my justification, right or wrong. That's I finally pulled the trigger. They got me, man.
I get it. Um, I get it. Okay. Job talk is over. We will stop shilling for Diablo. Sorry to do that to you guys. Let's get in. Let's get into the meat of it. Uh, the biggest thing about this season is the Infernal Hordes.
Yeah.
It's the quest line is centered around it. The rewards are centered around it. And it's probably, I would imagine, where most people, once they get to World Tier 3, are spending the bulk of their time. It was super effective for leveling. It was super effective for going through and getting your mother's gift so that you could end with your spark and then continue to get all sorts of upgrades along the way. And it's kind of fun. What has your Infernal Horde experience been so far? Are you spending it more time there than anywhere else?
Yes. Uh, Without question, for sure. I would live there forever if I could. And not to say that anything else feels worse. It just feels great. And I played on PTR and I felt like it was okay. It was fine, but I wasn't. But like it's super rewarding. It's super fun. Fast paced. Great for group play. Great for solo play. Um, yeah, I love it. I think it's honestly one of the best things they've added to the game. I essentially jumped from that in Helltide. And even when I'm doing the Helltide, it's usually just to open, specific chests and then moving on. Um, but no, I think that it's amazing. I think I'm sitting on like 400 million gold right now and a ton of masterworking materials. Just from like just okay, I'm gonna run one and just do all gold, and I'm gonna run another one and just do all materials, and another one and run all gold. They've got to fix the chests for loot because the greater affix chest, I mean, 9 times out of 10 does not drop a greater affix item. That feels busted.
I have
Whereas the regular
good
chests, I
I have
get
good
greater
news.
affix items out of the regular chests all the time. Yeah,
There is a hotfix coming to do exactly that. Adam
nice, good. Yeah,
did post on Twitter maybe about an hour or so before we started recording that
cool.
hotfix will be coming because they can recognize obviously that's
Yeah,
an
it's
issue.
supposed to be a greater affix chest, and there's none. Like you get a 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever it is, legendaries, and none of them have greater affixes. And then I go open the little 20 chest, and I get 3 greater affixes out of it. I was like, wait, what's
Right.
happening here? Um, but no, I've loved it. It's great for leveling alts, right? Like have your buddy create an alt, run them through their capstones real quick, and then just do like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3s, and try to protect them so they can't die, and they level up like crazy, which is great. Um, yeah, it's Infernal Hordes are awesome. They are very, very awesome. I still think that there's like a need for like I have still run the pit really, but that's really now I'm using the pit to kind of test my character because like the honest truth is it's just way more efficient to get materials out of the Infernal Hordes. You get so much of the Neath Iron, the Ingolith, and the Obdicite, depending. Um, doing it even just a tier 7, you get 25 per chest you open. And if you have 4, 5, 6, 7, I think the highest is like 834 Aether. That's a lot of Neath Iron you get. Allows you to masterwork much easier. I made a bad mistake. So gold has always been a problem. Obviously, like even when they fix gold problems, it's still something you run out of quite a bit because of enchanting and other costs and things. And so usually at a certain point in the season, I stop salvaging things and I start selling things. And so my gold has stayed pretty healthy because of that, which is awesome. Last night I ran out of rawhide, and I wanted to gouge my eyes out. And my buddy had been telling me the whole time, he's like, I'd be salvaging, I wouldn't be selling. And I was like, nah, I want to make sure I've got plenty of materials, because you open those material chests and you get like a lot of like the legendary materials, like the coiling wards and abstruse sigils and things like that. You get a ton of forgotten souls, which is great. And a bunch of like Stygian stones and boss mats and things. Like you get a bunch of cool stuff, right? But you don't get any rawhide out of it, and you can't convert rawhide now either. So I was just and I didn't realize how much I was spending on masterworking until it was too late. So I had I was masterworking some stuff and I reset it, and I had plenty of obdicite to get it past the first 4 ranks and like 400 million gold or whatever it is. But I had 3 rawhide left, so I had to go farm legendaries and rares to salvage to have enough rawhide. And I think I'm up to like 400 now. So that's what I've been doing today, is farming rawhide, which is it's a me problem. I fucked up. Don't be me. Keep salvaging stuff, especially if you plan on masterworking a lot. Keep salvaging stuff because you will need the materials. I made a mistake, man.
It's a fair one. It was a learned behavior from several
Yep.
seasons.
I had to
And I
unlearn it.
think
Yeah.
there is a lesson for everyone who is listening. And I'm learning. I was just like, oh shit, I've been selling. Maybe I
Stop.
shouldn't.
Stop. I promise you, stop. It ain't worth it. Go run an Infernal Horde for the gear, for the gold, and keep salvaging. But how are you? I mean, how are you enjoying it? Have you spent a lot of time there too?
I have. I haven't cleared a full tier 8 yet. So that's still on the list. But I've been there. I've been hanging out there. I've been getting comfortable there. I think going at it from a hardcore perspective still. It's so different. Where I'm
Yeah.
just like, I think I'm pretty happy with my build. It's pretty tanky. I can tweak a few things, but there are a few moments where I'm just like, I don't know how I could survive this. I
Right.
don't know how I could push this, and I think that's obviously it's inexperience, right? The more I play that, the more likely I'd be able to do it. But I've had some really close calls, and then I've had a few deaths where I'm just like, shit, yeah, there was no avoiding it. I think there is something about the pacing that just bothers me as a Diablo player a bit.
Yeah. I can see that.
I think what we were if we look at how far Diablo's come from Diablo 4 from the initial start of the game of like we're choosing to go purposely slower and you will fight less enemies on the screen to what the hordes are, it's a complete 180
Sure.
where kill them fast so that you can get even more monsters on the screen to kill them even faster, and
Yeah.
we're going to reward you for doing that. Like it's a huge paradigm shift. Um, like I would love a horde mode that was more reflective of initial Diablo 4 at the start. But I also don't think Diablo 4, the way it sits right now, is capable of that. Because I think it has to go big because
Well, I think it's our
we could
fault.
scale. So totally.
I think it is in ours being the players, right? I don't think us specifically had any sway on this, and I definitely agree with you. It is a 180. But everyone bitching and moaning because their characters are too slow, or because there's too much blank space, or all this stuff, right? Like even on the PTR, people weren't happy with the amount of mobs that were in the Infernal Hordes. So they said fuck it and just loaded it up. Like I agree with you completely, but if that's what people wanted, then that's not the message the community has been sending to the development team. And I think that the development team has done a good job in several regards, whether it's, locking in a build forever versus respecking and then making that cheaper. There's several regards where they kind of planted their flag in the sand and then quietly picked it up and moved that post a little bit. But look, I think it's fun. I'm having a great time with it, but it is kind of it's crazy frenetic. Like it's insane what's going on, especially when you've got like a Sorc or multiple Sorcs in there. Just like there's so much screen effects happening. I don't know how people can make a sense of what's happening. I remember at one point I was playing the Fireball build, and for those that don't know, the Fireball build, um, with the two uniques, basically you cast like essentially 3 fireballs every cast, and then on like the third cast you're going to do between 5 and 7 fireballs depending, and they just bounce across the whole screen. Okay, combine that with Hellfire dropping on you. How do you tell the difference? It becomes very difficult for like a barbarian or a necromancer or like these other classes that don't have. I say that barbarians also have, you know, whirlwinds and things like that, but there's a lot of screen effects that make it hard to parse what is good damage and what is not good damage for your character. Um, but I mean, it comes with the territory. It's kind of the same thing that happened with Diablo 3, right? Like the game started a much different, much slower pace, and the community reacted to it, and they did not love it, and so that game became a very different game, and is regarded, I would say, generally positively since then from that, for anyone that was, you know, playing it. But I, yeah, I'm with you. It is very different from where they started for sure.
The one thought I have in my head is a little bit, is this a let's let them go balls to the wall with the Horde now, and then we're going to put the X pack out and we're going to change things up a bit.
I
You
think
know,
so, a little
that's,
bit at least.
and we won't delve into leaks, right? Because like I don't think there's any point in conversing about leaks. However, given some information visible through Blizzard's actual own released screenshots and information around the expansion, we've seen bits and pieces of a possible Paragon rework, right? Of levels possibly being raised. We saw like Paragon starting at 60. What that all means is that an opportunity to mess with some numbers to change how this whole system works, so maybe we're not scaling as high. I would I would hope so. I think that could be more engaging.
In what way? So like, what's the change you're talking about?
So what we have seen is our level where we start earning Paragon moving to 60.
Okay.
And then from screenshots, seeing that the Paragon bar no longer has its 4 sections, it just has one. So what does that mean? Does that mean that Paragon changes entirely? Does that mean that instead of getting 4 points, we get one, or at the end of a level, we just get four right away? Those are all unknown. But if we are reducing points on the back end, because level cap still stays at 100, or even if it moves, uh, maybe Paragon gets changed, and maybe we're not scaling as high as what we normally are.
Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think that I'm pretty firmly on record as hating the Paragon system in this game. So, I mind you, I didn't love Infinite Paragon in Diablo 3, and I didn't think that like the stats were particularly interesting. But at least it didn't try to like, you know, sell you something, you know, that wasn't there, right? Like, you know, the Paragon system for Diablo 4 was sold as this complexity and this crazy kooky when it's not. It's just complicated and stupid. Like it's not complex at all. It's a lot of base stat and just, you know, all it just turns into most people looking at a guide and clicking the button the guide tells them to click. If you actually wanted to sit and like theory craft and min max that thing, cool, but that's gonna, you're talking like hours of like, okay, how many pieces, you know, it's there's just a lot, and I think there's a way that could be streamlined and better for it. So I wouldn't hate seeing that reworked at all. But I definitely I think you're on the right track. I believe that this, I don't know if it was intentionally like letting us have our fun and then, but I definitely anticipate the expansion to slow down a little bit. Might speed up a little bit after the fact, but I think it's going to slow down a little bit once it hits for sure.
I mean, there's always a slowdown and then a speed up. Like that's how an ARPG works. We're always going to
Right.
be moving faster and faster. Um, every ARPG is pretty guilty of that. But I think it would be exciting, as you're kind of saying, with leveling in Paragon. Diablo has two different systems right now. We have our
Mm.
skill tree, which I think every single player, and one of the big parts of the Diablo community is there are a lot of people. You know, we started out the show here talking about both of us reaching 100, you know, before a week into the season. There are some people
I
who
was
over the
there on the
course of the
second
season,
day. Yeah.
we get it.
I
Um,
stayed up all night, okay? I stayed up way too late.
yeah, no, I saw you. but there are some people who will not hit 100 over the course of a season, or
Right.
their whole season is getting to 100. I think the Paragon system, as we look at like Diablo's broad appeal, when I was talking with Rod during the kind of funny interview, he made mention one of his big metrics was the average level of a player over their time in I think it was like a week or two. And early on, people were averaging like level 30, and by the changes in season four, I think he said like 50 or 60. With that, getting more people into the game, I think Paragon is a thing that excludes people. It's
Sure.
not as intuitive as the skill tree. The skill tree is super logical, and it is very simple. I think it could be a little bit more complicated, but
Agreed.
there's a direct correlation. I put a point in here, my claw attack gets stronger. I shoot more arrows. I have more wolves, whatever it is. And then we get to a Paragon system where it's like if I make a full rhombus, my build comes together.
Right. Right.
I don't, if I spend 25 minutes putting 225 points across the board, that seems needlessly complicated for a game like Diablo, which is very broad and brings in a lot of people. Um, in the Path of Exile community, like the statement is, if you can get a player to maps, to end game mapping, you've got them for good. The barrier to that is usually a 10 act campaign, which they've streamlined. It's gotten a lot easier to get to that point. I would argue for Diablo, Paragon system for your average player is that barrier where by the time that kicks in, you're aimlessly putting points around and things don't feel as good, then you're not as likely to come back and play.
Sure.
So I would love to see it rework. I'd love to see what they've cooked up for the expansion, um, and see how it goes. So I don't have to spend 25 minutes putting in 225 points every time I respec.
Well,
That's a
and I
me
think you're
thing.
onto something. No, it's not. It's an everybody thing because I think that even the most veteran person who's played a lot of Path and Diablo games, no one goes, "This system is amazing and super intuitive and complex, but interest." Like no one is. It's just it's not right. It's just not. I think there's elements to it that can be cool. I think that all the legendary nodes should be branches off your skill tree. Personally, I've said that for a long time. Um, I would love, in my perfect world, the Paragon system would disappear and the skill tree would double. If that
Yeah,
happened, that's what I would like to see. I'm not saying that. I mean, obviously, I'm enjoying the game. I'm playing the shit out of the game, and I have since launch. But I've never felt super involved with the Paragon tree. And again, I have two. There's two people that live in my house that play Diablo much more casually than I do. My girlfriend and my son. They don't fuck with their Paragon board. They look at a guide, they click the button, they move on. They don't even realize what it does half the time, probably, right? They're just doing what they're told. They just want to go smash demons. But I do think that that is the problem with the Diablo community is that we're a very divided group, right? We have a group of people that are hardcore, from the Diablo 2 era, that probably have a Path of Exile boner in the background somewhere, that want that complexity, right? But then you have like the casual person who just wants to jump in and smash demons and probably maybe only played Diablo 3 and Diablo 4. There's a very diverse group, and I don't think you have that diversity in all of the other ARPGs. In some of them for sure, but I don't think you see that much diversity in, for instance, Path. But I think it could be reworked, so I'd be curious to see what happens, and I'm excited to see. I mean, everything they showed from the expansion so far looks really cool. So I assume they're onto some good stuff, and the development team has earned our trust at this point. I think.
yeah, absolutely. And I think I can appreciate Diablo 4 for what it is right now. I still enjoy Diablo 4 way more than I did Diablo 3. My son and I were actually talking about this on the way as I was dropping him off to camp today because he was just asking how my season was going because that's a normal conversation in the Xanth household of, yeah, hey dad, how's your season going? Um, but he was like, oh yeah, in Diablo 3, like, did you, what did you think of that? I was like, I enjoyed it. It's not my favorite. Right. Diablo 2 is my favorite, and Diablo 4 is shortly behind it. I appreciate Diablo 4 for what it is. I still think there's some work to be done, and I'm excited
Sure.
for that because I think everything the development team has been doing has been working towards it. So here we are providing this, critique week in, while also understanding like this, the game itself is still really solid. And I'm still enjoying myself. I still have plenty of things to do. And also, if I was playing
No,
hardcore
this
right
has
now,
been
I wouldn't even have any criticism yet.
it's been my favorite season for sure, and we're 5 seasons in, and like I thought with a shorter season I would get in and out quick. I am nowhere near one. I've never wanted to min max a character more than I have this season because it's more accessible. It's easier to do. It's more fun to do. Um, I'm really enjoying this season a lot. Yeah, I mean, I'm boosting friends' characters that don't normally play as much. I have friends that have 3 alts right now, which is great. Like they barely get one character to 100 to level 3, so that's really cool. And I think that like there's so many quality of life changes to this season that have been just swept under the rug. I mean, we talked about on previous episodes and stuff, but there's so many things to applaud the team. On I mean the boss changes. Holy shit, like I like running bosses now. It's fun. It's super fun. And you kind of play this hopscotch game where it's like, okay, how many mats do we have for Varshan? Okay, cool. We're done with that. Now how many mats do we have for Grigor? Okay, now how many mats do we have for Duriel? And then kind of keep rinsing and repeating until you completely run out. You're literally like kind of like scraping. It's like when you like get a soda, like a fountain drink soda, and you run out, but you keep slurping it, just hoping to get a little more soda. That's how it feels doing bosses right now. You're just trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel and get every mat you can. Um, yeah, and it's been a lot of fun, man. Helltide is still rocking and super fun. I love the triple stack profane mind cages. That's great. Um, the greater affixes seem to be dropping plentifully for me, so that's been very nice. And I've definitely had some feels bad moments in brick tempers, but that's definitely felt better this season too. Um, and
Because
yeah,
you
I don't
you
know.
get an extra temper per greater FX.
I mean, it definitely seems like it's. I haven't noticed myself wanting to jump out of my window as much, so that's been good. Um, but yeah, this season's been a hell of a lot of fun. Like I'm a week in, and I have no plan to stop anytime soon. I'm gonna finish my rogue and continue min maxing the Sork, and then I still plan to go through the campaign again, and work on all the side, like again, just to kind of a fresh run, full clear of all the side quests before the expansion comes out. So I still have quite a bit to do, and I got to do all that before my vacation in Sanctuary when War Within comes out for WoW, because I do plan to play that as well too. Plus Star Wars Outlaws I mean, there's a lot of games on the way too that I want to jump into before Vessel, because I know when Vessel comes out, I'm gonna be playing the heck out of some Vessels.
Now, it seems like we're winding down, but I got to come back. I got to bring it back up. So you
Yeah.
talked about Helltides. You talked about bossing. You talked about obviously Infernal Hordes. What didn't make its way in? Nightmare Dungeons.
Is that a surprise for me? I don't think that's a surprise for me. Um, yeah, because they suck, and they've always sucked, and it's never changed. Nothing's ever going to change my mind. The Ancestral makes them better, right? The Ancestral affix on them makes them way better because I can do them less. Anything, anything in a game mode that makes you do the game mode less, and that being a positive, is a sign that that game mode is broken. Something is not it there, and it's not it's a me thing. I get that. Not everyone dislikes them to the level that I do. I've never thought they were super engaging. They are not as miserable this season because of just the power creep and being able to do 100s faster, and then ancestral 100s. I mean, you can level a gem from 1 to 21 in 3 or 4 sigils if you're lucky. But yeah, sigils still suck, and that's okay. Some aspects have to suck so that other things like Helltide and Infernal Hordes and the boss ladder can be better. So that's fine.
But it does kind of come back to a point, and it was brought up on our last podcast, but the Infernal Hordes trivializing all of the other things, right? The pit,
Yeah.
since you can get all of your mats from the Horde, um, Nightmare Dungeons, because they don't offer anything outside of that Glyph XP. And once I've got it to 15, I feel no need to go back and do really any
Oh,
more
get it
than
to
that.
21. Be a grown up.
I don't I don't want to do my chores. Um,
I feel that.
because and I would again, as we are looking right on the precipice of the expansion, I hope there's a balancing. There has to be a shuffling somewhere in there because those things aren't going to disappear suddenly. There have to be new dungeons, right? There has to be new dungeons introduced. I think out of all of them, between the pit, Nightmare Dungeons, and obviously Infernal Hordes, Nightmare Dungeons need the most love. They need a
Yeah.
purpose. I think just this is your place to level your glyphs doesn't feel right. They
Right.
need some other point of existence. I don't know what that is, but
Yeah.
I would, they have a lot of thought to them. They have a lot of things that could work. It's just they don't have a direction. You take away
Yeah.
the glyphs, nobody would ever enter into them. Because now you can also get those aspects off of the gear that you would find in your Infernal Horde. I don't actually have to go to a dungeon for anything. So I'd like to see more purpose, something along the way. Um, but
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see what they come up with.
Well, so I was talking with my group of friends about this, and I think that one thing that could make them feel a little better. I don't think it would fix the problems that they have, because I think that the end of the day, the dungeons are like, the tile sets look really cool. The art is amazing, and I even think that like the density is a lot better than it was, especially like considering the different variations of dungeons and stuff, right? Because you used to have, I mean, there's still better dungeons than some others, but I think that like if they added one of two things or maybe both things, one, drastically increase the gold you get from Nightmare Sigils would give me a little more incentive to run those, and also give you like a buildup of gold as you're leveling your glyphs, so you have like a good chunk of change to kind of go into the masterworking process, and really when you start fine tuning and enchanting your gear, it kind of gives you more reason to do that. And I also think that higher level nightmare dungeons, like maybe 90 to 100, should drop Obdicite. Give me a breadcrumb to lead me into the pit and masterworking from Nightmare Sigils. That makes it feel like there's a little more value in my time, right? Like, so I'm running Nightmare Dungeons, I'm getting a little more gold and a little Obdicite, so when I finally get to masterworking, I've got enough stuff to play with it, to wet my whistle a little bit, but just enough to kind of like tease me, so I want to go into the pit to go get those materials at that point, or the Infernal Hordes, whatever I choose. Um, I think the pit still fits a need for the crazy of us that just want to test your build. So I think the pit is unmatched in that regard, because it's still, as you get higher in those levels, it becomes so challenging. But the challenge isn't like, it doesn't feel like I'm beating my head against a wall as much anymore. Maybe that's my expectations being tempered a little bit, but I don't know. But I definitely still am running the pit. But Infernal Horde is very, very good. Um, I hope they don't change the way it operates right now, because I'm worried that they're going to tune it backwards, maybe give a little less of the rewards from it to incentivize other gameplay. And I really would rather them not do that. I think it's in a really good place right now. Be curious what everyone else thinks, but yeah, I could run Infernal Hordes all day. Like, I could literally just do that, and then everyone takes a break. Cool, I'll go run Helltide real quick.
Yeah, I would like to see. As we continually will reference, I mean, Path of Exile's been around a long time, and they've continually iterated on their game. Diablo 4 is new, right? It's in that process. One of the things you can do in Path is you have the option to you have a second skill tree. You have a second skill tree for endgame, in which you prioritize certain things over others because the game's been around for so long. It's got all this bloat. Like, I don't want to do harvest, but I really want to do delve. I can focus my endgame tree into delve content. You earn those points by doing maps. Maybe there's an existence or reason for Nightmare Dungeons. Earn your points there to customize so that you never have to do Nightmare Dungeons again, or whatever it might be. Um, there would be a level of irony there, but that's okay.
Right, it's kind of the same problem. It's like now it becomes even bigger task for you to do, to just be
Right.
done with it forever. Yeah, everyone does Nightmare Sigils so they never have to do them again. I don't know
Yeah.
many people that run them for fun at this point. I'm sure they're out there, and if you are, God bless you. We need you, but I can't. I can't. It couldn't be me.
I don't. I thought, like, jokingly, I was like, okay, I'm in softcore. I could just do Nightmare Dungeon 100 and level 21 every glyph I have. And I was like, I don't hate myself that much. I do not. want to do that.
Here, come spend a half hour with me in Nightmare Sigils, and I'll get all your glyphs to 21. We'll do it together. We must do
Uh,
it, Xanth. We
all right.
must.
Well, that's a post-show thing. But anyways, going back to it, you do have the ability to customize your end game so that you focus on those things, and maybe that's the balance of like, hey, if you point into this, your nightmare dungeons will allow Obdacite. Your Infernal Hordes, while we have nerfed their their output now, increase the gold chest uh, has a chance to do or have double the amount of gold or whatever it might be. Something to make the targeting of that particular end game content, because that's the thing. Diablo 4 is going to keep growing. We're going to keep getting new types of things with every season, making it so that the new thing isn't always the best thing, or that it doesn't immediately get pushed aside and put into the pile. The typical Toy Story meme of "I don't want to play with you anymore." Um, Eventually, we, that's going to suck because we're ingrained with all these other things. So let's see what they come up with.
Yeah, no, I agree. And again, like I just the game's in a really good place right now. I'm having so much fun with the season. But yeah, I would say Sigils was definitely the lowest point for me. But they're not. It's not the end of the world, right? They're not nearly as bad as they were. There's been a lot of improvements, so I'm not trying to knock them. It's just it is the least fun of the fun things that I like to do. So
Yeah, that's fair. I'm totally logical there. Okay, um, there we have it. That's week one of Diablo season 5, and 7 more weeks until Vessel of Hatred. So
yeah,
enjoy it, obviously while it lasts, and then everything's going to change soon. And we will get back together. We will talk more as the season progresses because obviously there's still some more things around the corner. It'll be interesting after a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to see what has really transpired. Right now, Sorks look really good, but maybe there's another hidden bard build which will completely decimate everybody. Maybe druids are a sleeper. Maybe they're not. The druid isn't. It still needs a lot of work, guys. And this is my cry for help here at the end. Please do fix them so that they are the best class. Once again, briefly, just briefly for a moment, they
I
were
don't
the
think they're
best. And
broken though. They're just not the top.
yeah, there are 5 classes, and druids typically 4 or 5. So it's okay. It's okay. It's gonna be fine. Or I'm gonna play a Spearborn because that's it. I will abandon the class I love for something new and flashy, like a new wife or something like that. It's a midlife crisis, guys. It's okay. It's a mid-class crisis. Okay, we're going too long. So, this has been Talking D with the boys. Let's close it out as we always do with a moo. Moo.
Moo 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 moo.